Brody. Got a baby in the car. How you feel? See this up there? Get up. You scared as hell, right? Scared as hell. Be quiet, Brody. Scared as hell. Why does you have the fence? You were trying to shove it in the car, bro. Don't tell me you care, bro. What are you talking about? You had her in a headlock. And then you shot her, Brody. I was there. Oh, why did that man?
I know they're arrested. They can fucking gun on the street.
I'm licensed to carry.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You shot somebody, nigga. What the fuck wrong with you?
Has been speaking with people who know the victim, and she has more.
The deadly shooting happened this morning right here along Cermak near State after loved ones of the victim say she had just dropped her son at school. Sources close to the investigation say a woman is in custody after allegedly pulling the trigger.
One ordinary school morning in Chicago turned into a scene of horror that no parent should ever witness. Children walking into their classrooms had no idea that, just steps away, a young mother's life was about to end in the most devastating way. Her name was Romika Meeks, though many called her Rama. She was vibrant, ambitious, and just celebrated her 31st birthday. A woman who danced through life, who lit up rooms with her energy, and who dedicated every heartbeat to her son. But beneath the smiles and the carefully posed Instagram pictures, there was a storm brewing. A storm fueled by jealousy, resentment, and a complicated love triangle that involved the father of her child and another woman who wanted her gone. On the surface, this story looks like another tragic shooting. But as we peel back the layers, it becomes clear that this was not just about a fight or a single moment of rage. This was a story of obsession, of rivalry, and of a toxic relationship that pulled three adults into a collision course that would end in bloodshed. Today, we step inside the world of Rama Meeks, a devoted mother, a woman with dreams, a daughter and sister loved by her family. And yet, in the middle of all that love and light, she found herself caught between two people who claimed to care about her, but instead became the reason she never made it home that day. This is not just a story about violence. It's a warning. A story about how unchecked jealousy can twist into obsession, and how a single morning drop-off at school became the last chapter of Rama's life. And as you'll soon see, what happened outside that elementary school wasn't a random fight. It was the tragic climax of a tangled web of betrayal, broken trust, and dangerous emotions that had been building for years. Before we begin, if this is your first time here, welcome to 24/7 True Crime Chronicles. We share real stories that uncover the darkest truths and the lessons behind them. If you want to support the channel and make sure you never miss an episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps us bring more of these stories to light, and it ensures YouTube recommends our content to others who need to hear these warnings too. Let's continue the story. Her story begins long before the gun was fired. It begins with a family, with love, and with choices that would slowly set the stage for tragedy. Rama was born in 1994, a Chicago native who grew up in a city that can be both beautiful and brutal. Her family described her as full of life, the kind of person who could walk into a room and shift the energy with her smile. She loved her son, Carlos Jr., whom everyone affectionately called Lo. Her entire world revolved around him. From the day he was born in 2018, Rama devoted herself to being the kind of mother who was always present. She documented their life together on social media, trips to the park, birthday parties, vacation getaways, even quiet days at home. To friends and followers, it looked like a storybook bond. But behind those happy moments, life wasn't always easy. Being a single mother in Chicago came with challenges, and one of the biggest challenges in Rama's life was her relationship with Carlos Way, better known to friends as Los. Carlos wasn't just her ex-boyfriend. He was the father of her son, her first love, and the man she couldn't fully cut ties with no matter how hard she tried. Their relationship was complicated from the very beginning. On good days, Carlos played the role of a caring father. He posted about his kids, shared photos of family outings, and carried himself like he wanted the world to see him as a provider. But on bad days, and there were many, their relationship was toxic. Arguments escalated quickly, accusations flew. At times, Rama even sought legal protection, going so far as to file a restraining order. Yet somehow, their lives remained tangled together. It wasn't just about romance anymore. It was about co-parenting. And that meant, whether they liked it or not, Rama and Carlos had to keep crossing paths. As months went by, Carlos started moving on with his life. He got into a new relationship with a woman named Holly Johnson. At first, it seemed like just another chapter in his personal life, but it wouldn't stay that way. Holly wasn't just his new girlfriend. She was also the mother of his second child. And slowly, her presence shifted the balance of everything. Now there were 3 people tied together. Rama, the first mother of his child, Carlos, the man at the center of it all, and Holly, the new partner who wanted her place solidified. For Rama, this wasn't just about another woman stepping into her ex's life. It was about boundaries. It was about loyalty. And it was about the painful reality of co-parenting with a man who didn't always know how to separate his past from his present. And while Carlos tried to present the picture of a man who had everything under control, his actions often told a different story. He was still showing up unannounced, still finding ways to keep Rama close, even when she wanted distance. To her, it felt like he hadn't fully let go. Those mixed signals, combined with the new relationship in his life, created a powder keg of emotions that was waiting for just the right spark to explode. But before the explosion came, the tension slowly built. And if you look closely at Rama's posts, her words were warning signs. By 2025, the dynamics between Rama, Carlos, and Holly had turned into something much more dangerous than an ordinary co-parenting struggle. It had become a love triangle fueled by resentment, jealousy, and an ongoing battle for attention. Carlos was at the center. To him, it may have felt like he was balancing 2 worlds. One with Rama, the mother of his first son, and one with Holly, his new girlfriend, and the mother of his newborn baby, Carson. On social media, he painted the picture of a proud father, posting both boys together, smiling, captioning it with promises that he would do anything for them. But behind those filtered snapshots was a different reality. Instead of harmony, there was hostility. Instead of peace, there was rivalry. For Rama, the situation was heartbreaking. She had given her all to raise her son Lo, to provide him with stability. Yet now she was forced to watch another woman step into her world, not just with Carlos, but indirectly with her child as well. And Holly wasn't just any woman. To family and friends, she seemed determined to prove herself, to assert her place in Carlos's life. Some even claimed she secretly envied Rama, her confidence, her bond with Carlos, and the way people gravitated toward her. The signs of jealousy weren't always subtle. Holly had made cryptic posts online, dark statements hinting that sometimes you had to end things to move forward. Words that, in hindsight, looked chilling. Meanwhile, Rama wasn't one to keep quiet. She vented openly on social media, airing her frustrations about Carlos's lack of accountability, his constant presence in her life even after their breakup, and the way he still involved himself in her business. She called him out for popping up at her job and creating drama when all she wanted was peace. Her words painted a picture of a woman exhausted by the constant tension, a woman who wanted to move on but felt chained to a cycle of arguments and disrespect. And at the heart of it all was Lo, her little boy. Rama's posts often circled back to him, reminding herself and the world that no matter what chaos unfolded around her, her son would always be her priority. She wrote him notes, filled his lunchboxes with encouragement, and showered him with love in ways only a devoted mother could. But even with her resilience, the tension wasn't going away. It was only intensifying. Carlos now had 2 women who were not only connected to him, but also emotionally charged against each other. Both mothers of his children, both tied to his life forever. And instead of being a stabilizing force, Carlos seemed to fan the flames. He stayed close to Rama, too close for comfort at times, and at the same time, he leaned into his new relationship with Holly. To outsiders, it looked messy. To those closest, it looked like a disaster waiting to happen. The unspoken question was always the same. How long before this triangle snapped? And then, in the final weeks of Rama's life, the signs became impossible to ignore. Her social media posts grew more raw, her frustrations more public. She wrote about clearing toxic people from her life. She wrote about standing up for herself. She wrote about being tired of games. It was as though she knew, whether consciously or not, that the storm around her was reaching its breaking point. And soon, that breaking point would arrive. But before it did, Rama left behind words that revealed exactly where her heart was. Words that now read like a mother's final goodbye. By early September, the tension between Rama and Holly reached a boiling point. What had once been whispers of jealousy now felt like open hostility. Friends later recalled that Holly seemed consumed by the rivalry, as though she couldn't rest until she had proven her place. And Carlos? Instead of stepping in to protect the mother of his child, he seemed caught in the middle, or, as some accused, deliberately fueling the fire by keeping both women close. On the morning of September 8th, 2025, Rama woke up like any other day. She dressed her son, prepared his things, and drove him to school. She even slipped a fresh note of encouragement into his bag, reminding him to stay strong, to always be himself. To her, it was just another school drop-off. But waiting near that school was Holly Johnson, a woman who had no reason to be there. Her baby was too young to attend classes. A woman who had driven from Milwaukee to Chicago that very morning. A woman who carried with her something much more dangerous than words. The stage was set. The tension that had been building for years was about to erupt into violence. And Rama had no idea that she was walking into the final morning of her life. As Rama approached the school, Holly confronted her. Words were exchanged. Voices grew louder. Students and parents nearby turned their heads, confused by the sudden tension. And then Carlos appeared. The man at the center of it all. The father of Rama's child. The partner of Holly. The thread tying them together. His presence should have calmed the situation. Instead, it escalated it. Witnesses say Carlos grabbed Rama, putting her in a headlock, restraining her as the argument grew heated. In that moment, Rama was left vulnerable, defenseless, unable to protect herself. And then came the most chilling moment. Holly Johnson reached for a gun. Chaos erupted. Parents screamed. Someone shouted that children were nearby, but the sound that followed silenced everything. One gunshot. Rama collapsed to the ground. The bullet struck her in the face. People rushed forward. Someone shouted, "She's dead." Another voice screamed for the police. Some bystanders froze, horrified. Others ran for cover, terrified that more shots would follow. Holly, astonishingly, did not flee. She stayed at the scene, phone in hand, telling police she had a license to carry, claiming she acted in self-defense. But her explanation raised more questions than answers. How could self-defense justify shooting an unarmed woman in front of a school, while her ex held her in a headlock? Within minutes, the area was swarming with police. Officers secured the scene, pulling apart witnesses who were sobbing, shouting, and pointing fingers. Parents clutched their children tightly, shielding them from the sight of Rama's lifeless body on the ground. The school, a place meant for learning and safety, had become the stage of a devastating murder. And the story was only beginning. Because while Rama's body was taken away and her son's world shattered in an instant, the community began demanding answers. Was this truly an act of self-defense, or had Rama been set up? The sound of that single gunshot echoed long after Rama collapsed on the pavement. For her family, it marked the beginning of an unimaginable nightmare. News traveled fast. Within hours, videos from the scene had spread across social media. Grainy clips showed chaos, screaming voices, and the heartbreaking reality of Rama lying motionless outside her son's school. For strangers, it was shocking. For her family, it was unbearable. Her sister went live online, her voice breaking, pleading with people to stop sharing the footage of Rama's final moments. Through tears, she begged, "Please, please, that's my baby sister. Don't share that video. Post good pictures of her, not that. My mama doesn't need to see her baby on the ground like that."
All I see is a motherfucker. A nigga ain't shit. But when a nigga think they can do you like that, you did wrong and you wanted to hurt somebody that you hurt. Nobody did anything to you. You hurt my sister and that girl. Oh God, that's my baby. Everybody knows that's my baby. That's my baby. That's my baby. My baby. That's my baby. That's the thing I care for my baby. When she love us. She love us. And that's all I care.
Her words captured the grief that no family should ever have to feel, the helplessness of losing someone in such a brutal public way. To Rama's relatives, This wasn't just a shooting, it was a setup. They were convinced Carlos had played a role in the tragedy. After all, how could it be coincidence that Holly, who lived in another state, had shown up outside Rama's son's school that morning? How could it be coincidence that Carlos himself had been there, restraining Rama just before the shot was fired? Her cousins took to social media, furious and unfiltered. They claimed Holly had been jealous of Rama for years, that she had always wanted to be like her, to have what she had. One cousin raged, "That girl hated my cousin."
It don't even matter. You didn't have to overkill her, G. You did not have to. You thought she was a threat. If you shot her in the leg, what did you keep shooting for? You shot her in her face and her chin, bro. Come on, G. Y'all know Romika 150 pounds soaking wet, bro. Soaking fucking wet, bro. Gee, y'all don't understand, bro. And then this bitch ass nigga Lozo, folks. My kids, G. How you gonna... You couldn't handle that shit, bro. A real nigga ain't... I don't give no fuck. You got kids by both of these bitches. You got kids by both of these bitches. You mean to tell me you couldn't stop that shit, bro? You mean to tell me you wanna act like you the fucking victim, bro? And that my fucking little cousin mama gone, G. Y'all is some fucked up, hating, spiteful, evil individuals. He still wanted her. Let's be real. He still was stalking her, hitting her phone, all that shit, bro. Mama, y'all ass bogus, G. And I really feel like that shit was a setup, G. Because if you knew she was up there taking him to school, why would you let your other baby mama pull up? Nigga, you supposed to be on your way to the gym.
She wanted to be her, and now she gone. The anger wasn't just about Holly. Much of it was directed at Carlos. Family members accused him of failing to protect Rama, of putting her in harm's way, of allowing his two worlds to collide until the result was deadly. Some said he still wanted Rama, that he couldn't fully let her go, even as he started a new family with Holly. And while Rama's loved ones grieved, the community watched in disbelief. Parents who had been at the school couldn't erase the images from their minds. A mother gunned down where children should have been safe. Teachers whispered prayers for Lo, who had just walked into class, unaware that his mother would never pick him up again. For little Lo, the aftermath was the cruelest of all. That evening, as family gathered, he clutched a small toy his mother had given him, holding it tightly, asking where his mommy was. At 6 years old, he couldn't understand why she hadn't come back. The family tried to shield him, surrounding him with love, but nothing could replace the bond he'd lost. His mother was his world, and in one moment, that world was ripped away. As the hours passed, emotions grew more raw. Online, people expressed outrage. Why hadn't anyone stopped Holly from driving across state lines with a gun? Why had Carlos allowed the confrontation to escalate? Why had a simple school drop-off turned into a murder scene? And behind every question was a deep sense of injustice. Because for those who loved Rama, this wasn't just a crime of passion. It was a betrayal. Her family's grief was overwhelming, their anger impossible to contain. And while they mourned their daughter, sister, cousin, and friend, another battle was only just beginning. A battle for justice. In the hours after the shooting, the scene outside the school was swarming with police. Officers cordoned off the area, questioned witnesses, and collected evidence. The questions came fast. Why was Holly Johnson there? Why did Carlos intervene the way he did? And how did a morning school drop-off turn into a homicide? Holly was taken into custody, but she didn't run. She stayed on the scene, phone in hand, claiming she had a license to carry and that she had only acted in self-defense. But how could self-defense justify a bullet to the face? The community didn't buy it. Parents who had been there said they saw no imminent threat to Holly. Family members called her explanation a lie. To them, it was nothing less than premeditated murder. The pieces didn't add up, and people started asking an even darker question. Was Carlos part of the setup? Carlos tried to defend himself, Matt posting on Facebook that it was the worst day of his life. But instead of sympathy, his words were met with outrage. People called him out, saying he had failed to protect Rama, saying he had chosen chaos over peace. Meanwhile, detectives pored over evidence. They reviewed the videos, listened to witness statements, and pieced together the timeline. Holly's past posts, especially the one about ending things, began to surface. The restraining order Rama had filed against Carlos raised even more questions about his role. The legal process was slow, but the weight of the evidence seemed undeniable. Holly had pulled the trigger. She had taken a young mother's life in front of a school full of children. But for Rama's family, accountability meant more than just charging Holly. They wanted Carlos held responsible too. They believed he had orchestrated the moment, even if he hadn't fired the gun. And as the investigation moved forward, the community rallied behind a single demand: justice for Rama. But justice, in cases like this, is never simple. It's never fast. And for a family already drowning in grief, every delay felt like another wound. At vigils held in Rama's honor, loved ones lit candles and released balloons into the sky. They remembered her laughter, her dancing, her endless devotion to her son. And they vowed to keep fighting until her name wasn't just another headline, but a reminder of a mother stolen too soon. Still, one haunting truth lingered. No matter what the courts decided, no matter what punishment Holly faced, Rama's son would grow up without his mother. And that was the greatest injustice of all. Rama's story is more than just a tragedy. It's a warning. It's a reminder that we must pay attention to red flags, not only in our own lives, but in the lives of those we love. If someone is showing signs of obsession, if arguments keep turning dangerous, if jealousy begins to consume, it can escalate and it can destroy. Her family will forever carry the weight of her absence, but they will also carry her light. They remember her laughter, her dancing, her vibrant spirit, and the way she poured her heart into her son. For lo, her words live on, that final note she wrote him, "I love you, and I'm always your biggest fan and supporter," will become a legacy. Proof that even in her last days, her greatest purpose was being a mother. And maybe that's where the lesson lies: to love deeply, to protect fiercely, to walk away from toxic cycles before they claim more lives. Rama's story doesn't end on the pavement outside a school. It ends in the hearts of everyone who hears it. A story that forces us to reflect on the dangers of jealousy, the cost of violence, and the importance of breaking free from destructive relationships. She was more than a headline. She was more than a victim. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend. And while her life was cut short, her story continues to remind us all. When jealousy takes root, when love turns toxic, and when conflict is left unchecked, the consequences can be deadly. So if there's one takeaway from Rama's story, it's this: protect your peace, know your worth, and never ignore the warning signs. Because sometimes, lives depend on it.